California. CBS reporter Mark Strassman on why the U.S. Forest Service refuses to let it fly.
We're the very largest in the world. There's nobody out there that comes close.
Jim Wheeler's company, Global Supertanker, turned a 747 passenger jet, one of the biggest in the sky, into the world's largest fire extinguisher. We watched one of its final test runs in Colorado last fall.
We can drop a line of retardant about 3 kilometers long, or if you will, about 1.5 miles.
But in this country, it's virtually worthless unless the U.S. Forest Service gives it permission to fight fires, something the agency has yet to do. Even though the plane was certified by the FAA last September and has since fought fires in Chile and Israel.
The frustration factor is exceptionally high. It's very hard to watch property burn and lives are lost, and we can't get in and help.
In May, the Forest Service issued a request for new air tankers, but said it would only give contracts to planes with a dispensing capacity of between 3,000 and 5,000 gallons. The supertanker can drop more than 19,000 gallons of water or retardant at a time.
It begs the question, if your house is on fire, are you going to call the smallest, slowest fire truck?
Some firefighter advocacy groups suggest the Forest Service might be trying to control its budget, causing delays for the plane, which could cost as much as $250,000 a day to operate. The Forest Service says it can't comment on the dispute because Wheeler filed an official protest last month.
We can fill this aircraft very fast if we're deployed.
How fast?
We can have this whole airplane ready to go in 30 minutes or less.
But it's not just the speed and size that make the supertanker powerful.
It's a pressurized tank system. The water comes out atomized, much different than the gravity-fed tanks, which are basically just a dump, like taking a bucket of water and dumping it. It doesn't break down tree limbs. It won't crush cars or buildings.
That was Mark Strassman reporting. California's fire agency currently has an agreement to use the plane, but can't deploy it until the Forest Service gives its approval.
Acabamos de ser mojados por el supertank, pero no importa, todo se va.
So here we have an article on October 10th, one day after the fires broke out, and this article is going into, shows a video of this Global Tanker LLC dropping in the wine country, and it says it flew 6 flights over devastating fires in Sonoma in Northern California. And here you see the routes it takes to go back to McClellan Air Force Base in Sacramento. Maybe a half-hour, 20-minute flight. It travels at 600 miles an hour. But you can't really find any more information about what they did. There's an article saying they went down to the firefighter, supertanker, finally helping the fight. But it's one supertanker is all I can find, and no more flights. Just this one. It costs $50,000 a day to have the plane on standby, and $15,000 per flight hour. In June, red tape effectively grounded the plane in the U.S. when an interim approval from the Interagency Air Tanker Board expired. But July 25th, the news organization called for an end to bureaucratic delays. They issued a new 17-month interim approval, and federal certification followed soon after. My point being, folks, I didn't see one of these planes. I was here. Nobody's seen any of these tankers fly over our areas. We haven't seen any of them. We saw helicopters. Saw a lot of helicopters, but nothing like this. There was no planes flying over us. I think this made 1 sortie or 6 sorties, and that was it. Then they went down, and 1 plane flew over there, but they could have put out these fires with these mofo global evergreen tankers if they wanted to. They could have brought in all the chemtrail planes, the geoengineering planes, like they outfit them for Corexit to go and destroy the Gulf of Mexico after Deepwater Horizon, but they didn't do that, and they're not doing it now. So don't get on me that they're doing it, because they're not, and I haven't seen these guys, and I've been here, and other people I've asked, have you seen any of these huge planes dumping huge amounts of fire retardant to a person? The answer is no. And just to add one final note, they only fly during the daytime for some reason, so they would be visible and people would be taking pictures and that kind of thing, or getting dumped on. It doesn't happen. You go around here and there's no red fire retardant anywhere. None. Zip. Nada. Agenda 21, folks. And here's from my blog, Taboo Blog, about Evergreen Aviation, who allegedly went bankrupt. It was a CIA operation. They do the weather modification devices. They're out of McMinnville, Oregon, or they were out of there until a Global Tanker LLC bought them. But you can see they've been used for chemtrail spraying for a very long time. I'll include this in the show notes and you can see for yourself. October 8th was when the fires began here in the Santa Rosa, middle of the night. October 9th continued on, and then the winds completely died, but still no word about how these fires started. FEMA has moved in, Agenda 21 has taken over, Army Corps of Engineers, private multinationals descending, and people are thousands and thousands are out of homes, living in RVs, trailers, under streets, that whatnot. So the Northern Cal fires, there was over 60 of them, started at the same time. Not a single explanation how that could be possible. And again, a few weeks later down in Santa Barbara, and then San Diego, Anaheim also. And then they had this Thomas fire, which originally started it all, and heading up towards Santa Barbara, and there's the Beast fire they just can't put out, but somehow it kind of missed Ojai a little bit, went all around that beautiful little area with their wonderful oranges. All part of the biodiversity, get us out of our homes, get us out of the biodiversity lands, protect nature, and people are going to have to live in closets, I guess. The winds whipped up, fierce winds. I've never seen winds go east-west. I grew up in the mountains, and there was no winds going east to west, folks. It's always west to east. They're making all this stuff up. Here, look at these fires again. So here's a federal map of federal publicly owned lands. You can see the preponderance of it in the western states. And not many people know that the federal lands are run by the federal government, and they get to decide what to do with the lands. Look at all the fires that have gone on in the past year. All over the place. Most selective fire in history. They've now told me that this is a fire from 2013 in San Diego. But look at the asphalt, look at the eucalyptus trees, they're still there. And time again, just like the fires in Southern California, you'll see in a little bit. Some areas got it, some areas don't. One home got it, next door didn't. Made no sense, no rhymes, no reasons. And again, they still have no reasons for these fires. The Diablo winds, the Santa Ana winds, the tornado, Sharknado, all a bunch of crap. This is from Cardinal Newman, a Catholic school. Look at the fire, folks. Straight line fires. Lasers. Can you say directed energy weapons? Look at that. Nothing's touched except half the ball field. Look at this home here, folks. One home fine, next home not. Does the guy not have a smart meter? Who knows? We need to investigate. Unfortunately, they're not doing investigation at all. Now here, look at these fires down in San Diego and in Ventura County as well, down in Southern California. There's nothing around. How'd these fires get there? Look at it. Can you see? Homes here and there, but not everywhere. Like no fires ever in history except the ones up in the Beast fires in Alberta and Fort McMurray, or the fires in China, or the fires in Madeira, Portugal, or the fires in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. We're seeing them over and over. And also in Colorado, there was a fire, Waldo Fire Canyon, they said had the same types. But look at this, the trees are fine. And here they are dumping helicopters on them when one of those tankers would put out all those flames in one pass. Yet we're not seeing that happen. They're letting them burn, baby. Let them burn. It was drill, baby, drill. Now it's burn, baby, burn. Folks, they don't care about us. They really, really do not care about us. All right, let's get a little more into these LA fires, these Beast fires, these fires. Again, fire departments are saying they have no idea how these things started. No idea how severe these are. Never seen them before. Again and again. This is the weather war terrorism we all face. Spread this far and wide, please. We need to wake everybody up. We cannot be subject at their whim to destroying our livelihoods. Look at, how did that fire start on the top? And then how did the fire start on the bottom? Hang on. I mean, give me a break. Where is all the questioning? Where's the fire department's captain speaking out and saying, hey, what happened? Time to speak out, folks.
crew there. They're from Sacramento. They came all the way down from Sacramento yesterday, helped fight this fire. They were putting out some of the hot spots, and you can just see how much damage this fire did to some of these homes. I saw 4 homes in a row that were destroyed, completely leveled, but then a house right next door untouched. This house in particular, which we will show you some more, we'll introduce you to the owners in the 6 o'clock hour, but this home in particular, it was completely destroyed, but all the landscaping around it untouched. In fact, there was outbuildings, the patio was untouched, just the home itself burned down, which sort of is an example of how insane this lilac fire has been. Yeah, take a look behind me, Kim. It is really flaring up. I was just on about 30 minutes ago down the hill. This is what I'm talking about. Embers flew about a quarter to half mile away over to this hillside and immediately turned it into that lava effect that Steve referred to. It looked like lava. Now it's moving down closer towards Olive Hill Road here. That's where I'm at. I am just north of the 76 on Olive Hill Road, and this entire hillside keeps flaring up behind us. Now let's come back over here. Adam, can you zoom in on this hillside where it looks like the lava that Steve Atkinson was referring to? Steve, look at that. That is the lava that it looks like lava. The entire hillside just burning. And the embers, I don't know if it's easy to see. Can you guys see? Where this is getting out of control, those little demon embers can go a mile away. That starts a spot fire, and that spot fire starts another one of these things. So, yeah, it's unbelievable being out here, and the heat, guys, it is amazing how hot it is out here.
Continuing on with the fires in California, it looks like Santa Barbara is going to be swept up in this. Definitely disaster capitalism at work. Agenda 21 we're going to cover here. We're going to cover also the stand down by the Global Tankers LLC, former Evergreen Air, why they're not using tankers in fires, and these new type of downstream embers that are flowing over, and firemen's comments. They've never ever seen anything like these beast fires that won't go out and can't be put out with water. It's all part of the Agenda 21, Agenda 2030, Agenda 2045, and the rest of them we'll be getting into in a little set. But please get yourself familiar with this simulated reserve and corridor system to protect biodiversity. Forget about human life. Required by the UN Convention and Biological Diversity Wildlands Project, UN and US Man and Biosphere Programs, and World Heritage Program as a vital step in attaining, quote-to-go, sustainable development. The map was used in the United States Senate to stop the ratification of the United States Convention on Biological Diversity. Yeah, right. So this is what they're planning to do, and if you want to see where humans are going to live, normal use, look for this little green color. Can you find it? Oh, there's a little bit there. Looks like there's some in the Central Valley for humans to habitat private. Oh, there's some over here. Red, no human use. Okay, folks, they're not kidding. They wouldn't put this stuff out if they were just talking. I'm going to show you why. The Wildlands Project, claiming all the wildlands. This is where human access is denied. There's that map. Now, this is interesting that you need to know why they're starting in the West, because the federal government owns a lot of the lands. Look, they own all of Nevada. They own most of Idaho. Huge chunk of California in the middle. So this is how they do it. They just take over. They're like, FEMA's coming in here. I'm going to show you a little more of this. James Lee Witt also is on the board of directors of PG&E, the new ex-FEMA guy, Clinton's Little League buddy. And this is how they roll. So I want you to look at this. They got a pre-2020 and a post-2020 plan for biodiversity 2011 to 2020. And this was at the Aichi Biodiversity Targets, the 15th meeting. 15 meetings, folks, 2020, the Global Diversity Framework post-2020. So they're having it done by then. That would be done for the context of the 2050 vision of the Strategic Plan for Biodiversity 2011-2020, as well as the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, other relevant international processes, and in light of the assessment and achieving the strategic goals and Aichi biodiversity targets, a strategic plan for the biodiversity 2011 to 2020, as well as for future scenarios of change. The meeting of the Conference of Parties, the Executive Secretary, the subsidiary body of implementation of the SBI, folks, it's very, very, very well laid out. They have partnership agreements. You can look up many, many organizations here, folks, and also look up all the different things they're doing, but look at all the organizations that signed up around the world, right? They're not kidding. This isn't a joke. And then they got the Convention on Biological Diversity, the National Biodiversity Strategies and Action Plans, or NBSAPs. No, we're SAPs. Latest NBSATs. These are the organizations all subscribe. Here's how far they're getting along. See any countries here you don't know? Brunei Darussan, I don't know that. Burkina Faso, don't know where that is either. But I noticed that one thing, got Russia in here, they got China here, but one thing's missing, United States. You don't see the United States in here, folks. I went and looked on another map and I couldn't find it either. Maybe you sleuths can, but cities and subnational governments, and you can see over here, resilient cities, fourth assets of decentralized cooperation. So they're going to sell it as local, but it's an international system. The Japanese are involved, the Brussels, the headquarters of the world government is there, ICLEI, the local governments for sustainability. They're all players in this game, folks. And they're all taking over and kicking us out of our lands. So to show you how it's going down, the UN Habitat, notice the one eye, the triangle, the circle, all that. It's all their little games. You got Cisco as one of the main partnerships in their one eye UN Habitat. But I want to get into this resilient cities, because that's their moniker they're using. You'll hear it over and over, resilient cities. This is what they're starting in Santa Rosa, the resilient cities. Info on resilient cities, how to make resilient cities campaign. Here's your 2010 to 2020. Invest wisely, identified budget locations, funding to invest in disaster risk reduction activities. Well, first you got to have a disaster to manage the risk on, so problem, reaction, solution. UNEP PSI, Ensuring Resilient and Sustainable Cities, Resilient Cities 2017. Raise awareness and actively educate about hazard-resistance building practices. See how they're all prepared? Problem, reaction, solution. That's how they roll. So what do we see going on here in Santa Rosa? And here you can see the local implementation in the city of Santa Rosa, the Resilient City Permit Center, and he's got the city of Santa Rosa map and a girl with your permit there, and they're going to permit you to build a resilient city and stack and pack them and everything else. And they got this Helping Our Community Rebuild, and they're coming up with this little packet, Helping Up Our Community Rebuilding Together, debris removal. They're talking through how they're going to do it. They're showing you charts. They're permitting and review, something easy so you can understand how they've taken away your homes. And we'll get into a minute the insurance companies who aren't paying out anybody. But I want you to first to notice Coffee Park. I want you to notice Highway 1 Round Barn area. That's Fountain Grove, Fountain View area, Fountain Grove. These are all resilient cities all of a sudden. They're all targeted for resilient cities. And isn't it interesting, folks? Don't you find it interesting that the resilient cities areas that they're pending development match right up with the June 2017 City of Santa Rosa Department of Planning and Economic Development citywide summary. And look what we see. Northwest Santa Rosa, this is Fountain Grove, Coffee Park. Same areas, folks. Same areas. This was all by design. They torched us. They killed people. Thousands and thousands are out of their homes. Now it's happening in Santa Barbara. Now it's happening in LA. Happened in Harvey. Still in Puerto Rico. Thousands and thousands of deaths because no one is helping them. Are you starting to get any idea, folks, we're under attack? I hope you do, because we are. So here's more on the resilient cities. This is by the Bohemian and the resilient city permits. And what do we find is that the resilient city is combining districts and they're talking about it in the local papers here, the transition movement. They're giving the history and celebrating resilience in Sebastopol and the Post-Carbon Institute. So, all this part of this is all part of the Agenda 21 being brought into a local way. And here I want to show you this. All right, so take a look at this. This is from October 7th. October 7th, 2 days before the smart fires in the middle of the night came out of nowhere. They were planning on increasing the density size of lots, more housing units on a particular property, redoing the zoning laws. Right before as well, folks. This was all very well planned out. Here's one of the worst of it all, though, folks. The insurance doesn't cover any of it. Many displaced homeowners discovering they will likely have to pay tens of hundreds of thousands of dollars out of pocket and still own their mortgages, by the way. According to victims, one attorney estimated to be out more than $1 million in cost. 97% of the more than 200 victims where policies were examined found to be underinsured for coverage structure or personal property, folks. We're finding the numbers are so grossly insufficient. Why aren't the mortgage companies taking the hit? Why aren't the insurance companies paying to rebuild? Well, they strong-armed and said you have to clean up the property, and if you don't, you're going to have to turn over the insurance companies to us, and if you don't, we're going to provide an abatement, and we're going to do it, and we're going to bill you, and it's going to cost you a lot more. So everybody was strong-armed, and everybody but one person held out. Its survey showed that only 26% had enough coverage to rebuild their homes. The vast majority are uninsured. Even when the people talked to them and said, the message I was getting, I was essentially overinsured with USAA. Now, I had USAA until I read this and I canceled. Folks, insurance doesn't insure anything. They just take your money. It's all a game. It's called disaster capitalism. Now, his reimbursement is $177 per square foot. Average building cost is $400 per square foot and going up. See what I mean? See how this disaster capitalism? But unfortunately, it gets worse. As these resilient cities are going on, we're also seeing that some of the shenanigans, this James Lee Witt, the former FEMA guy I was talking about, look who's on the PG&E board of directors, Mr. Clinton's buddy from way back who was at Hurricane Katrina. And he has a company called DeWitt O'Brien that's owned by Secor, whose stock's gone from 28 to 52 in disaster capitalism. And I highly encourage you all to get familiar with Solarian Corporation. It's the energy-based, up in the sky, above us, platforms that are going to be directing energy from the sun through lasers and RF frequencies and mirrors, and they're going to be providing the energy. This is all part of the Agenda 23, is have space-based or ether-based or up-there-based, whatever you guys want to call it. It's going to be energy from above. And this is why you see energy, energy, energy. Atlanta just lost energy and power. Oh, we're going to do it from the sky, so you won't have to worry about it anymore. You watch. It's coming to you. So what's the chances that this guy's on the PG&E? PG&E is going to take the hit because they still haven't explained how these fires happened. Even 3 months down the road, no one can begin to project. But PG&E is guaranteed going to take the hit. And guess what happens to utility rates on all the PG&E consumers? They're going to go way up. There more or less people are going to be able to live. See how this works? Costs are going up. Homes are getting smaller. People are out in the streets here. We have homeless that have doubled here. Homeless have gone nuts down in LA and Ventura counties as well, and in Anaheim, and up in Seattle, and up in Santa Rosa. And the police state is getting greater because people are saying, oh, we need more police because there's too many homeless now. Problem, reaction, solution. So please read about Solarian Corp. I've also been in touch with Deborah Tavares. She's fine. She just got attacked again with some EMPs, targeted. She's been targeted. She's had some other things happen to her. She's a truth warrior. Like, gosh, she's strong. And she's fighting for us, folks, and she called this out a long time ago. I'm going to do an interview with her this week. I hope you listen to. All right, so let's get on to the fires here, and let's look down in Ventura and show you how these things are just beast fires, are out of control, and firemen have no idea how to contain them. Never seen them before, and no one has an explanation. They're trying to blame it on the homeless. Yeah, right.
That's all, folks.
जो player in the world.
Show me.